like the only time Nathan gets to eat.
The only time he gets to eat because he has too many
his
kids.
wife doesn't let him eat much food. So
he's very hungry. Please record a show.
please listen, like, and subscribe so that Nathan can keep eating in his own home. Amazing. Okay.
You're listening to The Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean, American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Janchi Show. It's your boys, KJ, Nathan, Patrick. This time with video, and everybody knows it. Fellas, how you doing?
I cleaned up my room just for this. Patrick is making weird faces.
That's how tired you are.
I needed to let people know how excited
mouse.
I was. The special guest, Tiny Mouse.
Yeah, amazing. We're your Janchi Boys. And I guess I should explain what Janchi means, why we call ourselves the Janchi Show. So Janchi is a Korean word that means to feast. And we also wrap in a bunch of extra meaning where I am not doing this well. I want to somebody else explain what Janchi means because my brain is broken.
100%. Janchi Show. Janchi is a Korean word. Janchi is the Korean word for feast or to celebrate. And we chose that word to be the namesake of our show because at the end of every episode, we feast on some sort of snack item from Korea. But generally, in terms of the conversation, we choose to celebrate and come together and talk about our shared experiences as Korean adoptees. We talk about identity. We talk about culture. We talk about how hard it is to access all of those things. That's what it means to Janchi. It means to come together with your dudes or your girls or your theys or your thems.
Whoever you want.
100%.
Come together
just
with
be
your
in
people.
Community together. Yeah. And that's what we try and do here on the show. And every once in a while, we have a good old snack time. And it's fun. So I think the conversations surrounding the topics that we talk about can be heavy. And I think we try to bring not light to, but some levity to some of these conversations. Because at the end of the day, the world's hard enough as it is. And the more we can Janchi, the more we can be free.
Wow, nice. You can tell
I
he's
like
a
that.
rapper in his past life.
Yeah, I like that rhyme. I should make it. I'll make that into a shirt.
There we go. I was going to say John Free, but it didn't make any sense.
Nathan, the number of shirts that you have said I need to make into a shirt really needs to improve our store. So
Yes, that's
we need to
true,
get some more
too.
merch
You've got a
out
lot
there
of
into the
shirts on
world.
back order right now.
Yeah.
Is anyone even wearing our merch? That's what I want to know.
My mom
I mean, I
wears
do
our
sometimes.
shirts.
Okay, I feel weird
I
wearing
do
our
and
own
your
merch,
mom
guys.
does.
Come on,
Perfect.
be
No,
honest.
it's fine. Well, this episode, we have a guest, as I'm sure you can tell by the title, and Jae Carelli joins us from Brooklyn, and they tell their story about growing up in New Jersey, being adopted from South Korea with a bunch of other siblings with a 14-year age gap who are all adopted from Korea. Also, we touch on them going to Boston Conservatory. We touch on them creating a whole album around a concept album around adoption and then creating a play, like a show out of that on top of that. I mean, we get into so much and it was really I feel like they just dropped so many things and I was like, man, I gotta go think about that for a while.
I won't lie. Some of it was over my head. You guys all talked
Well,
about
the music nerds
and-
for sure.
Yeah,
are the
yeah,
ones
music
who care
sorry.
nerds out there are going to love this episode.
I got
was
very excited.
I was quiet a lot. I would just say that.
Not during the food. Yeah,
That's true. Nathan really shines in the food portion. So, yeah.
I mean, that's the Nathan section.
That is
he is our
true.
pilot, and
Okay.
he lands us safely into Food Alley.
That's true. That's the only reason he shows up to these recordings is he gets to eat something. So we're going to jump into this. Let's roll the tape right now.
Roll it.
Welcome back to the Janchi Show. We are here with a very amazing interview. We are back with interviews, and we are happy to start off 2026 with Jae Carelli. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we usually start our show with letting you, I guess, start with as much or as little as you would like to share about your story. So you have the mic.
All right, you betcha. So I was born December 30th of 1996 in South Korea. And I was adopted in 1997. I was 5.5 months old. It was June 18th, exactly on the day. And I grew up in New Jersey. My parents lived in New Jersey their whole entire life. And I'm the oldest of 5 adopted from Korea. And all of our names start with J. So there's me. My initial name that my parents gave me was Jillian. And then my sister Jamie, my brother Joseph, my sister Joy, and my youngest brother John. And there's a 14-year age gap between me and John. So he's in high school right now.
Yeah.
So I grew up in New Jersey. My parents raised us very Catholic, and they put us in a non-denominational Christian school. So I had a very religious upbringing growing up. And I ended up actually working in the Catholic Church for over a decade as a music director. But I moved to Massachusetts, and I started my junior year of high school in Cape Cod. So I finished high school out in Cape Cod, and I wanted to be a musician ever since I was like 9 years old. So I went to music school. I studied vocal performance and opera at Boston Conservatory. And it was during my undergrad years that I realized I was like, oh my gosh, I have all of these issues. I struggled with addiction. I struggled with a lot of mental health stuff. But after now 10 years of therapy, I have worked through a lot of that. And I lived in Boston. I lived in Massachusetts for 10 years. And then right before moving to New York, I went to Con. And I learned more about my adoptee identity. I brought my littlest sister, Joy, for her 15th birthday to Chicago. And that's actually where I met all of you for the first time, which was very cool. And I've been living now in Brooklyn here for 2.5 years. I work as a music director and voice teacher, and I perform a lot. And most recently, I just recorded and dropped a concept album on the 7 core issues of adoption. It's called American Doll. And all of those songs are incorporated into a larger work that I have called Homeward Bound. It's a cross-genre musical narrative show. So it has monologues, it has classical pieces by American composers, it has all the songs from my album, and it's a 2-act solo show that I also premiered in New York and Boston last year. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's incredible. Congratulations. That is so much work, and it's really cool to just like have that come to fruition and get it out there, and then like just purely on the album side, but then also to be doing a show and have that like take place and really that's really fantastic. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, a lot of work, a lot of fun.
You said you knew at 9 that music or singing was the thing that you wanted to do. Was there a particular influence or person that you like listened to, or a band or something that you were like, oh, that's really interesting, I really want to do what they're doing?
Well, it was actually orchestral music that got me into music.
Okay.
I was 9 years old, and I listened to Benjamin Britten's Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra. And I was like, bored as every kid is in music class. I was like, oh, whatever this is. And then at the very end, it's like the last 2 minutes and 30-ish seconds. It's like a fugue of the whole entire orchestra, and all the instruments come in one after the other. And for the first time, I felt like alive. I felt connected to something greater than myself. And I was like a very lonely and isolated child. I was kind of like picked on a lot. I was kind of like obnoxious as a kid, so I can see why people picked on me.
I love it because I may or may not have deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like a little bit of a know-it-all. Definitely, I guess the mental health issues that I've struggled with probably started when I was very young. So I was definitely kind of like a pick-me kid, like when I was super young. And I grew out of that probably for middle school, but like grade school, I totally was. So I was kind of like lonely. And I really just wanted to feel connected to something. And I found that through music, that it wasn't just one of the parts, it was all of them combined. So that was just like a really beautiful experience that gave me purpose, and it gave me a sense of drive, and it gave me a sense of, oh, this is something I can like work towards. So yeah, that was the kind of deciding factor. I just started to learn flute. And that's what I like wanted to do until life had different plans for me.
You wanted to be a flautist? Is that
Yes,
the
I did.
appropriate
No, that's a
pronunciation?
small rolled tortilla
Yeah.
that's fried.
with some guacamole.
I know, is it flutist or flautist?
Yeah.
Okay, that's dope. I like that. And I resonate with like being the pick me kid in grade school and being like really because you're like feeling loneliness. I totally like just made me think of this moment in fourth grade where I did not get called on to answer a question. And like, because who wants to get called on to answer a question? Apparently me. And I just remember like slamming my hand on the desk. And I was like, I don't know why I've never even thought about that since then. But I'm just like, yeah, there was something like causing some of that. And I think it's because I felt pretty alone and I wanted to be the person answering the questions.
Yeah.
So you were
absolutely.
Hermione Granger, but angry? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, without the time turner. No time turner
Without
for me.
the time turner, yeah. Wild. You may have mentioned this and I just missed it, but are the rest of your siblings adopted from Korea as well?
Yes, all of us
Okay.
are.
So I'm curious about, because I have probably about a 14-year age difference with my two older siblings, but they're both biological to my parents. So what was your relationship to Korea like, and like your relationship with your I guess your parents' relationship to Korea, and then did that change at all as more of you came into the family?
Yeah, my parents really didn't know much about Korea. I think they chose to adopt from Korea. They lost their biological daughter almost a year before I was born. 364 days. She died on New Year's Eve. She was born premature and only lived for 5 months before passing away. And obviously, that was really devastating for them. And they heard that if you adopt from Korea, they provide a lot of health records. And I think that was something that they really clung on to because they wanted a child that would be as healthy as possible. So while they were totally willing and prepared to take care of their child before she passed away with all of her medical issues, they definitely wanted to have at least all of the best opportunity to have a healthy child as possible. So I think that's why they chose Korea. They were initially going to adopt from China, but then and then maybe Russia, but then they decided on Korea through some friends actually who told them about it. And we didn't really have any connection to Korea growing up. My parents were always very supportive of me learning more, but I really, when you're very young, you don't know much. So we ate Chinese food on Lunar New Year. That was really it.
Solid.
Yeah.
Props to them for recognizing Lunar New
Yeah, it
Year.
was more than I did.
Yeah, but they called it. They're like, "Oh, that's Chinese New Year.
Yeah,
Let's go eat Chinese
Look,
food."
the 90s were a different time. It was Chinese New Year, okay?
Yeah, it was. So, they were always supportive, but they didn't know much. And I think they've had just so much, trauma of their own that they didn't have the capacity at that point in time to be like, oh, let me go explore my child's culture. And also the internet wasn't as big of a thing back then. So it wasn't like a Google search would make things easy. I do remember they did bring me to a Korean fair event thing when I was 12 years old in Princeton, New Jersey, and I hated every second of it. I was like,
really?
I was rejecting everything because I wanted to be like my peers. I wanted to be included. I wanted to be like them. I did actually grow up around some other Korean adoptees aside from my siblings. I went to that non-denominational Christian school. There were other Korean adoptees actually. There was one in my class, my very small class. But yeah, it was I didn't really I was actually talking with a friend earlier. I didn't realize that I was Asian probably until second or third grade when I had been put in that school. Before then, I thought I was just another kind of white kid, which was very interesting. But especially as I grew up and I learned more about Asian cultures, my Korean heritage, I've definitely become like the provider for my younger siblings to show them, oh, this is how you eat with chopsticks. This is kimchi. We're going to go get K-barbecue. All of that. So it's been a real joy to be able to show my family Korean food because, yeah, the language piece is a whole other deal. So,
Amen.
Yeah.
yeah.
Was adoption ever then brought up with each new addition to the family? Was it just like we're having another child brought into the family? Or how was that dynamic?
Yeah, they would be like, "Oh, we're adopting another child." So, I was very young when my sister was adopted. So yeah, I was very, very young. So I didn't really remember that process. But when my brother was adopted, I remember picking him up at the airport, us trying to like decide on a name, all of that. And I remember, being very young and having to change his diapers and like, just like kind of like help parent him and, play with him and watch him and all of that stuff, feed him, all of that good stuff.
Talk to me about, you said at 12 you were just like rejecting Asianness. What was the thing that made you be like, yeah, I'm into this. I'm curious about it. I'm, whatever. Whether that's specifically like Asianness or Koreanness or if like more, because I separated into like being Korean versus like being Asian American. So yeah, for you, like what were the turning points for like you kind of thinking about like, oh, maybe I should dig into this part of myself more?
Yeah, I was probably around 2021. I was in undergrad and I started eating at this ramen shop in Boston. And I was like, wow, I didn't know you could have noodles like in soup like this. This is crazy. It was so good. So it became like my obsession. And I started eating there like multiple times a week. And it was just like a really inspiring experience for me because the ramen shop they ask you to share your dream after you finish your bowl of ramen, and you share your dream with like the other 17 customers in the room and the staff, and you just share whatever goals and aspirations that you have. So I would constantly do that and constantly eat all of these amazing bowls of ramen that I even started working there. Probably, it was the summer of 2018. And I got a summer job there and I was just like eating the ramen, and I had a community of people who were Asian American around me. And I think that really pushed me to see, oh, wow, like I can have friends who look like me. I can have a community. And I had coworkers who would be like show me Korean drinking games. They would bring me to go eat hot pot for the first time. We would get boba together, and it was in finding community and in just like finding this place to belong for who I was, not for what I did, which was music, not for like, helping other people or like teaching or whatnot. It was like for who I was, I could be accepted. But that's actually where I found some dissonance, was because a lot of them asked me if I was like half white. And then a lot of them would be like, oh, are you even Asian? Like people would ask me, like customers would be like, are you Asian? And I was like, come on, come on. I was like,
Have you seen this face?
I was like, really? But yeah, I think a lot of people, like I would tell them about how I was raised and they would be like, oh, like that just sounds like some white people stuff. Just like all of that. And I was like, well, I'm gonna like go and prove to you I'm all Asian. So I actually looked for, I started the search for my biological family in 2019. And it turned out to be inconclusive twice. I tried again in 2023, and there was this whole thing where Holt found out, but they didn't tell me for 10 months and until the documentary came out, actually. But they weren't able to contact my biological mother. So, but yeah, it was really working at that ramen shop that really changed everything and how I felt about identity, how I felt about food, how I felt about, you know, me being accepted for who I was.
Yeah.
And you got a discount.
Oh, I got free ramen and it was really great.
Oh my God.
Always going for the food.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you talked about like the dissonance of people, other Asian people, I'm assuming, asking you like, "Are you really Asian?" or like kind of questioning the wholeness of yourself a little bit. And then you said, you're like, "Oh, well, I'm going to go prove that I am Asian." And in my mind, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is the part where you're like, I'm going to read these books and I'm going to go do this thing." And then you're like, "I just went on, I did a biological, a parent search." And I assume it was because it's like, if I can establish this connection, like there is, that it ends all doubt or questions about, oh, am I Asian or not? Especially like reaching inconclusive results or even having to deal with Holt and them just being like, hey, we're not going to share this information. I know a lot about that. Was there a moment where it was like, okay, maybe I don't need this to like exude or express my wholeness in how I am, and especially for my Asian identity?
I think actually that point came for me very recently. I think it was only after being able to do my whole show and talk about, my search for my biological mother, talking about how I had to take a remedial driving course. Like all of this stuff is like in my show that I processed about trying to find belonging, trying to find this sense of this is home. This is where I belong. And then the show kind of ends with me recognizing and reckoning with the fact that we really can truly only belong to ourselves. And that is first and foremost what is most important. Because I tried to really appeal to everyone with this show. I tried to make it like half classical. I also tried to make it contemporary. I tried to do all of this, narrative storytelling. I tried to do like everything to try to appeal to everyone and earn everyone's love. And I was like, well, I realized that I can never do that once I finished it. I was like, I did it. And so many amazing, loving people came out to support me. And I'm so grateful for that. But I realized at the end of all of that, the thing that I was really searching for was acceptance of my own self. And now I really have come to peace with the fact that, I might never know any biological family. And that's okay. And I think I have like a newfound sense of acceptance of myself that I'm continuing to establish. It's definitely not easy. I definitely am a people pleaser, like a chronic people pleaser. But I'm just like trying to learn to work with accepting myself every day now that I've established that truth.
I love it.
Yeah.
I fully understand the like finding the self-acceptance piece, and I remember just like reaching that and feeling like I'm on this new level of just movement, and like, but not even just like the way that I moved and like navigated the world, but like how I could like settle in and rest, especially because you talk about like substance abuse and addiction and like mental health struggles, and I had a decade of that period myself, and feeling like I could never be at rest. And I think it's really beautiful to think about you writing the show, performing the show, finishing the show, and then finding kind of that peace in yourself. And I don't know, does it feel restful in a way? Does that make sense?
Yes, it really does. That's a beautiful way of putting it. Thank you. Yeah, restful is, that's a great word.
Well, it just feels like exhausting to try and always be the people pleaser. Like, I know that life too. And like when you were saying I tried to make the show for everybody, I'm like, that's classic adoptee behavior. Like, how can we tell our story and with all of this trauma and like, but also make sure that everybody loves it. And like everybody feels like they're seen and it works for them. And I feel like that's something that we talk about on the show a lot, is just like, when you find community, it's great. But when you find your people in that community, like the community within the community, like you really start to like find yourself, I think. And so, yeah, I just
Absolutely.
appreciate you sharing that with us.
And that you found it while you were doing that. Also, the fact that you were saying that reckoning for yourself and your own stories, and saying things like, for example, that you were wanting to prove yourself that you were more Asian. I think some people might go the opposite direction and try to be more white and try to be more, more blending in with their surroundings. But you chose to go the opposite and say, no, I'm going to go search for my family. I'm going to prove. And in a way, you were probably doing both, proving for them, but proving for yourself too at the time. And I think that's very commendable. I love that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I actually had a question about that. Were the people, and you may not know this, but were the people who were like doubting your authenticity, for lack of a better word, were they like, what wave Asian American were they? Were they like first wave immigrant? Were they second gen, third gen, like Asian American, or like what was that? Like, could you get a sense of like, oh, like your family's probably been here a while, or is it like, oh, like you have also just come to this country and you're like, you don't strike me as like being from the motherland, or you know?
You know what? One of them was my ex, and his mom was a war refugee from Vietnam. And all of his siblings, he was the youngest of 6. So like all of his siblings were born in Vietnam except him. So he was born here in Ohio. But yeah.
The most Asian of places.
Yeah, you know it. So yeah, that was a very that was like one interesting thing. And then some other people too. I'm not really quite sure. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting thing to, all my life people told me I wasn't white enough. They're like, you're different, you're not white. And then I try and be Asian and then they're like, you're too white to be Asian. And I'm like, that type of dissonance was like, wow, you try and find home somewhere and they reject you. You try to find home somewhere else, they reject you. So yeah, it was a very interesting dichotomy.
Yeah, that's something that I've wrestled with it for a long time, and I think it really rears its head again now for me because my daughter exists and is mixed race, and so like there's that sense of me like I've gotten two things. I've kind of gotten used to the idea of like newer immigrants asking me like, oh, where are you from? Like literally I got my hair cut the other day and the lady that cut my hair is Vietnamese, and she was like, are you Japanese or are you Korean? Just like right out the gate. I was like, girl, I have not even sat down yet. And that's but that was her first question. And I know her 2 coworkers, they're both Korean. We talk all the time. But so she was just like, just right out the gate. Right. But then like, so that I feel like that hits different because if someone who is like spent like their defining years in like their home country and then they move to another country and they're like, oh, you don't seem that Asian. You're like, yeah, I mean, your point of reference is very different from my point of reference. But if it's somebody who's like spent their defining years in the States and or has a generational history of that, then it can feel like either a chance for welcoming or just like a different type of rejection because like you're just as mixed, just as blended, just as diasporic, and so it's so I was wondering about that, and I didn't know if that had any influence on your choice to immediately go into a birth search, or if like Patrick said, you were just like, well, this is concrete and directly ties me back to like my place of origin, so this is the first thing that I'm going to do.
Yeah, I think also I tried to go into the birth search as well because I knew through I always knew that a lot of my issues stemmed from adoption, but I didn't know the extent of it. And then as I started therapy when I was like, almost 19. And so yeah, I was probably a few years in and I was like really doing a deep dive into the CBT, DBT type of stuff. And I was like, connecting all of the dots. And I was like, oh, my behaviors and my insecure attachment is all stemming from this primal wound. And I was like, I'm going to fix this primal wound by going right to the source. So I think that was like another motivator too, was that, this is like very solutions oriented, that I can kind of fix it. But as I've come to realize, even if you are in reunion, it's just complicated, and it is not an easy fix whatsoever. So, yeah, all growth.
Yeah, just big, casual, big changes, big life decisions to make, and just be like, let's do the thing. What has been your relationship to Koreanness otherwise, like beyond the birth search? Was it like ramen shop got me in, and then I just like did like a YouTube deep dive / like social media deep dive to figure out like whatever that stuff is? Are you like super into like the K-pop and the K-dramas and the whatever? Are you just like, yeah, I mean, it's cool, but like whatever?
It was really food. Like, I'm a
Nice.
big foodie. So yeah, Korean food really was my, it really was like the gateway. When I wanted to fill out like, my paperwork in order to start the search, I actually took a trip, like a solo trip to Toronto to do that, because I wanted to kind of get away to see who I like really was, so I could write my letter, my search letter, just kind of like with a clear head. And I remember walking around Toronto, and I walked into this like Korean restaurant, and it was the first time I had purple rice. It was like some of the best food I had ever had. And even now I find it just to be really important. Like, food is just so important. And then of course, like, I learned a lot of things. I had some other coworkers from the ramen shop who actually brought me to a New Year's Eve party that was mostly people from a Korean Catholic church. And I was like, oh, a New Year's Eve party. So I'm wearing this like, cute, but kind of like not church appropriate dress, and like these thigh high boots, and everyone's taking their shoes off at the door, and I'm like falling over, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there are deacons here. Like, I wouldn't have worn this dress. Like, it was this whole thing. Cause I was like, yes, like, I am a music director in the Catholic church right now.
Yeah.
I am also Korean, but I am nothing like any of these people here. And I think they were really lovely, and they tried to connect with me, and they tried to talk with me. Mostly they were talking in Korean. But I think it was just through connections like that, and just talking to people, that was like really insightful. I tried to learn Korean a little bit during the pandemic. And I struggled a lot. I struggle a lot with learning languages, and we could talk more about that later, because like I have a whole tangent about that and adoption. But I really struggled like with the language piece. I'm not super into K-pop. Like K-pop Demon Hunters, great movie. Really loved that movie, but I'm not like really into the like the K-pop groups or whatnot. I mean, it's good music, but I'm not like listening
Not
to
your
it
jam.
all the time. Yeah, I think it's the language barrier that really that I struggle with a lot. And I really would love to go back to Korea just to be there and experience it. I think that's the next step. So I was planning on going in 2020. Obviously, that didn't happen. And then I was
For what
actually,
reason?
I wonder. But yeah. And then I was going to go this past October, but with all of the immigration stuff, I was going to bring my two younger siblings. I decided to take a pause on that, but I might be going again this upcoming fall. So we'll see.
Oh, dip. Nice.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of like the next step. But yeah, I've met so many other Korean American people here, especially in New York, and it's been like really cool to get to connect with them and just like learn more about their experience.
You brought up language and like the barrier to access. Another thing that I really resonate with, because I feel like I can't get over the whatever block that exists that will allow me to actually retain the language in any form. So I was wondering kind of what's your perspective on that? What do you think the block is?
Give us the hot
Or
takes.
what are the blocks, I guess, because it's probably more than just one thing, like adoption in general, but I feel like there's probably a whole host of other things.
Yeah. Okay. So there's so much. And actually, this is actually kind of like where actually the idea for my thesis began that I'm currently working on. So when I was probably like around like 10 years old and I was like playing the piano, I was playing this Mozart piece and I started like associating like colors like with the notes and I didn't really know why. And then as I kind of got older, I realized I had grapheme color synesthesia. So I associate colors with letters, numbers, and notated music. So
very specific third one.
Yeah. And I think that's
because
very
Jimi Hendrix of you.
It is. It's just, I think it's because notated music has a lot of correlations with letters and numbers. So I think I was able to just like associate that with the colors as well. So that was a very interesting thing that I had growing up. So when I was in school for my vocal performance degree, we had to study Italian, French, and German. We had to take 2 semesters of each language. And we also had to take like 8 semesters of diction, which is not just how to speak it correctly, but how to sing it correctly. It's like very language heavy degree. And I didn't realize
that's where you learn like IPA, right?
Yeah. And that was the worst. I could not wrap my head around it. And everyone was like, make an versus an sound. And I was like, there's no difference. I couldn't understand the difference. And I really struggled with it to the point where like one of my teachers was like, do you need a disability accommodation? Like, it seems like you're not like getting it. And I was like, I don't know what it is. I didn't have to take speech growing up, but I just don't like, I can't, like, there's something in there that's not clicking. I remember my German teacher asking me like, when were you adopted? And I was like, like 6 months old. And he was like, oh, you shouldn't have a problem then. But after, being in therapy, and also I did music therapy after graduating because conservatory was just so hardcore and kind of just like so intense. I had to like undo like a lot of the stressors around music. But through like that therapy journey, a lot of my therapists were like, that's when phonetic processing kind of cements itself, is around 6 months of age. So once my auditory phonetic processing was cemented in Korea, then I was, shipped across the world. And, New Jersey American English is much different than Korean.
Specific.
Yeah, it's very different. It's like the vowel sounds, everything is incredibly different. And my therapist was like, I think, that would check if you have, a phonetic processing issue. And I realized that's where my synesthesia came into play. That visual on visual synesthesia I had with the graphemes and the colors was like a kind of like sensory overcompensation to compensate for the lack of phonetic processing that I lacked and that I really struggled with. So I guess my sensory processing doubled down on the visuals. So as I began to explore other genres of music after graduation, I learned, like different like genres need different types of vowels when you sing. You can brighten the vowels by like raising your tongue. You can darken the vowels by like rounding your mouth, all of these different things. And that's what we call formant tuning. So now I'm doing my thesis about how formant tuning can be used as a means to present in a very for either masculine or feminine gender, and how gender is correlated with formant tuning, and how there are different patterns with formant tuning that are correlated with more masculine or feminine sounding voices, and how we can just make a variety of different sounds by tuning these formants with different phonetic sounds and patterns and speech patterns that we can use. So, yeah, that is how I realized, oh my gosh, even like one of my teachers was telling me when I was singing, she was like, oh, you do this weird thing when you go from like this vowel to this consonant. I was like, oh, now that I know a little more about Korean language, not a lot, but I was like, oh, that's kind of like a Korean thing. And she was like, wow, I got the chills. She was like, that's crazy. She was like, you were doing that even when you were a teenager. And I think it just goes to show that our vocal tracts are designed to speak Korean. It's just that, unfortunately, we had our phonetic processing be somewhat, cemented in Korean, and then having that shift and having that kind of rupture can be a barrier.
You've given me a lot to think about.
Yeah, I'm still lost on form and tuning as a gender expression, because I was literally just explaining to my wife today. I was like, I don't like my tone. I was listening back to I did a church service, and I was playing. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it sounds like I haven't sung a lot, and that's fine. But then I was like comparing it to when I was and I was like, I just don't really like my voice. But gender has always been something that I've like wrestled with and thought about and questioned. Not always, but within myself. And now I'm like, oh man, is there more stuff that I have to explore? But that's really fascinating. I would love to read that when it's done. But thank you for sharing. That's like a lot of inside baseball on singing that I think is like really, personally, I find really interesting, and especially like that tie to adoption and especially I think like the biological engineering of our vocal system to speak and to produce a language that is not our tongue anymore because we are in America, right? And like, so then you have that, like, we can speak English and we're native and whatever in that, like, that's like our language, but at the same time, like our bodies, that's not what we were designed to do. And so there's a lot of potential overcompensating and then like undercompensating, or just kind of all of that to kind of, wrap your head around that. And I feel like between going to Korea, eating Korean food, and learning the Korean language, like those are, and finding your birth family, those are like the four things that adoptees like talk about, really center their journeys around, as kind of those four pillars to begin with. And I think it's really interesting to hear your take on, and your own like personal experience on learning languages broadly, learning Korean, how it relates to adoption. Even I was like, I'm trying to teach I wouldn't say I'm trying to teach my daughter Korean. I'm trying to speak a bunch of Korean to my daughter for the same kind of reason, so that she is exposed to like Korean sounds and kind of gets in those rhythms and things. But my only tutor is ChatGPT, and I was like, yo, ChatGPT, I know that you're not a therapist or, whatever, but is there like anything about AI, like about being adopted, that could potentially mess up my own ability to speak Korean, like these mental blocks and whatever? And it was like, no, it's just that the way that you learn and the way that you think is like wholly backwards from the steps that you need to take from Korean. So it's like, it's very personal to you in the way that like it's a brain thing. It's not like a adoption thing. And I think what I'm hearing you say is like, while it is like, it's a brain thing and it's an adoption thing for you. So I think that's like, it's like, on the one hand, I'm like, is it an adoption thing? And I mean, for you, like, it very well is an adoption thing. So I think I appreciate the yes and of your story, because I think, like Patrick, I have a lot of parallels to our stories, our like life story beats and those kinds of things. So just all that to say, I appreciate you coming on and talking about that. It's really fascinating, and it just gives me a lot to think about.
Absolutely. I'm going to use that as an excuse. I don't think my English is very good, so I'm just going to say I was engineered for Korean.
You're like, my body wasn't built for this.
I'm built for Korean. Now I need to get on that train, because I don't know. I'm using drops at the moment, trying to learn some Korean every day. So it's so bad.
So does the synesthesia then? Well, can that help you, now that you have that understanding, help you to learn the language better and like learn to, you may have said this, but I may have missed it, so I apologize if you did, but I'm wondering now, like, because I'm thinking about, okay, I don't have that, my senses did not daredevil develop and get better. They just continue to dull with age. But I'm interested in like how that works for you and kind of as you approach the language, if that is how it plays at all.
Yeah, that's the thing is like Hangul is like it's a phonetic representation of these sounds. And I think that was actually one thing that was a little helpful is that you can see like the k and the g sound, like it shows
In the way the characters are written.
yeah, it shows almost like the position of your tongue and how like the back of your tongue, it's like a velar plosive. And
again, very inside baseball, but it's definitely
Yes.
it's the relationship of the tongue with the palates that like
Yes.
it makes sense. And I like you're the first person. Well, no, you're not the first person. Obviously, the person who wrote Hangul was like, no, we designed it like this. But you are the first person in my life in modern experience to be like, yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, maybe it's just the singer's thing, but yes, that's the way it is written. Is Anyway, sorry.
yeah, you're right. It totally just I was like, oh, the E sound, it's just like a line going up, and it's like a vertical line. And I think that just shows like the height of the tongue. And it almost like shows like what you do with your mouth and how you shape these sounds, which was very helpful.
Interesting.
Only after I graduated. And then I was like, oh, well, this like, I see. But it's interesting though, because Korean it doesn't exactly conform to IPA, because sometimes like the voiced and unvoiced consonants, it's kind of like a blend. It's like I still really don't even understand it myself. But so synesthesia is absolute, like my brand of synesthesia is absolutely useless for learning Korean. Yeah, so it is kind of I had a friend always be like, it's kind of like the most useless superpower ever. It's like you can't do much with it. But it is pretty interesting. It is definitely though it definitely has not helped me learn a phonetic based language. Let's just put it that way.
That makes sense. But now you've helped me because I've also never heard somebody say like Hangul is written like you can like look at it and you just do your mouth what you see on the page. Obviously, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but just like I've not thought about it that way. I've done lessons with multiple different people, and I'm just like not getting it. But I feel like nobody's ever said that before, so I'm like maybe that will help me. So
okay. I hope
thanks.
so. Of course.
Yeah. Side note for listeners, if you don't know what IPA is, we're not referring to a beer. It's probably your chance of experiencing it is like after a dictionary term or like on Wikipedia, the thing in parentheses that looks like English, but then it's got weird curlies and stuff. That's like probably your closest relation to IPA. It's a way that you can, people who know how the language works can like read that and get pretty close to like a phonetic accurate pronunciation without having to be able to like read like Cyrillic for Russian or Hangul for Korean or like any of those kinds of things, or just like Japanese like Latin based languages, like even French, Spanish, whatever. So it's like that's what we're talking about when we refer to IPA.
I've been trying to figure out the abbreviation this entire time.
I'm
like Imperial
International Phonetic Alphabet. International Phonetic Alphabet.
Indian Pale Ale, if you will.
I was totally going the beer route. So
yeah. I do love IPAs too. So I would always joke like I hate this IPA, I love this one. So
that's funny. Yeah, I never had to learn IPA because that was not my track in college, but I had friends who did that. So I was like, oh, that's a handy thing that maybe I should learn one day. And then, So I don't like either IPA.
Yeah.
So I'm still on the synesthesia part. I'm interested in like, because you've produced this whole show and obviously the show has like a visual aspect to it. Is there like, do you pull from what you see and like, those colors then play a big part in what it is, how you produce the visual aesthetic of the show?
Actually, yeah. I did hire one of my friends. He's very good at Touch Designer, which is like this cool visual-based program. And I gave him like a set of colors for each song. So he projected the lyrics at the bottom of the screen, but at the whole top of the screen, it was just like a wash of all of the colors that correlated with like the key signatures and like the keys of the song. And Yeah, I like chose like 4 to 5 colors, and he, yeah, just had them kind of like slowly like move in some like ambiguous forms on the screen. So it was like really cool. So that way, as people were reading the text of the songs, um, they were also able to kind of see what I saw as well, which
Yeah.
was really, really cool. So yeah, that was like a really neat thing that he was able to do for my show.
Have you ever had anybody come up and like associate it with that and like realize that's the association? Like after they've seen your show, have you ever had anybody be like, "I've like what you were singing, like that was the color. It was orange. I saw the orange. Like I understood it."
That's the thing, is everyone with like synesthesia has their own different things. So, someone
makes
might
sense.
like hear a C major chord. Like I hear like red, brown, and black, maybe pink, depending on the octave. But yeah, someone else might feel like that's blue. And I'm like, well, that's not blue for me. So it's a very individualized experience that
Sure.
has to probably do with like all of these connections and correlations we make when we're very young. But I do tell everyone, I was like, now, thanks to my friend Robin, you are able to see what I see when I am
Okay.
working on these songs or looking at these scores.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
really powerful, because I think so much about the way that we communicate, and how like language is what we use, but it's not how we think. And so it's not like the most effective way to convey kind of all that's in your head to another person. But like you get the benefit of creating a show where you have music that can convey an emotion, and you have like these colors that are for you literally kind of how you think and how you experience these things, and like how like that's such a unique, like powerful entry point into a perspective, and like just the graciousness with which you invite others in by creating a show and doing it like that. Yeah, man, I think that's so cool. And I as a community who are often looking for adoptee made content that also helps others kind of understand our point of view, like that is a really powerful tool, gift, opportunity, if you want it to be, to give not even language. Like we talk about on this show, like, oh, we just want to give language to our community. But like you can just bypass all of that and be like, here's some sounds, here's some visuals, and then you get all of that. And there's no words, but everybody can just be in a room, experience this together, and see that. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it is like, and that's like the beautiful thing about, art and storytelling, is that, we get to connect with each other's experiences. And, the adoptee community has such a wide, varied array of experiences, even though we're all adoptees. It's almost like we come to the community, especially when we come out of the fog, thinking, oh, like I found my people. I have found people who are just like me. And in a lot of ways, yes. And in a lot of ways, also no.
Yeah.
In so many ways, each story is so, so, so different. Like my story is so much different than even my siblings, and like how we were raised and how our parents, where they were at their point in their lives to raise us. So it's just like we have a whole myriad of experiences, and it's really important that, we share them in all of these ways possible. It's like really cool to see, like through the Adoptee Film Fest. I think I saw you there, Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw you at one of the tables. I was like, I think that's Patrick. I was like, this is,
It was
like,
me.
yes, it was so cool to, just see, from last year and also this year, like the storytelling, and how we're choosing to tell our stories and show the complexity of it. And we're not shying away from these complex experiences. And we are dismantling, that, white savior complex narrative, which I think is really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love to see the way that adoptees express their creativity in music or art or writing or filmmaking or photography or just building stuff. I mean, it is. I think there's so so many great artists out there, and I wonder. I mean, that in itself should be a conference. Is just an adoptee creative conference. I think would be amazing. So
Yeah, that would be
We
really
should be doing
cool.
more gallery stuff.
Yeah.
I have one more question before I think we're probably getting close to going to food. Maybe. Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
That's literally here and there.
It's everywhere. Before we hopped on, before we started recording, you had talked about now that the show and the album is, or the project is done, you are diving in or delving into different versions of telling the story of this project, or the project telling a story. I was wondering if you could just like break down or talk about some of the different versions. As like when you said that before, I thought genres of music, but now I'm thinking like, I don't know, I'm thinking a lot of different things, and I don't want to assume what it is that you might be doing. So I was just wondering kind of like, what are you exploring as you continue forward?
I'm trying to explore something a little shorter, to be quite honest. It's a lot to have people be in a room with you for almost 2.5 hours.
For sure.
And while it's a
I like
great
the
2.5
practicality of
hours.
it, for sure.
Yeah, it is definitely like if I want to, if I want to also share the, split the bill with like other performers. It's like I can't focus on all 7 issues, do all the connecting monologues. I would need at least like, a pianist to be playing like these very dense like orchestral reductions with me. All of that. And, I did this in New York. I premiered it with like a 5-piece band. It was like, it was a whole thing. And something of that scale, I did raise $10,000 on Kickstarter for my album and this project. And I'm so grateful to so many in the adoptee community came out and supported me with that. And also just like my community in general, like my church community, my just my artist music community. It was so wonderful. And but yeah, it was just, in order to compensate my collaborators fairly, it is a very costly endeavor. So I'm trying to find ways in which I can take a lot of those elements. And it's also a lot to focus on all 7 core issues of adoption. I was like, I have a lot of issues. I don't have just 7 of them, but yeah, it is kind of like a lot to explain all of these issues, all of these correlating stories, all of these classical pieces that I either commissioned or I had programmed just from learning in my repertoire. I'm trying to find a way in which to kind of like shorten it and make it just like a little more concise in some ways. So either I can cut pieces, I can cut monologues, I can focus on some of the issues. Like I'm doing a show, it's only like a 20-30 minute set at the end of February, and it's part of like a story and song kind of like sharing event where people share their own stories after I play the music. And the group before me, Folkestra, they're talking about like pieces of music that come from their roots. And then I'm going to talk about, well, what happens when your roots are ruptured? And talking about, when your roots are ruptured, where do you find belonging? Where do you find home? So in 30 minutes, I have to pick and choose what I'm going to do. So for something like that, I'm going to maybe not focus on some songs. I'll focus on some others. Since it'll just be me playing, I might not do all of the intense classical stuff. And I might keep the storytelling to a limit because we're probably going to be doing that after in discussion. So just trying to adapt it for various settings. I'm also doing a Songs of Resistance concert series. in New York and also in Boston as well, to speak up about all of the injustice that is going on in our world right now. But
There's
also
injustice going on in our world right now.
What are you
who would have
doing?
thought? I know, crazy. What do you mean? But we're using it as a fundraiser and also partnering with organizations so that way people are able to, be inspired by the music, but then also have someone speak and be like, this is what you can do to help. And you can help by partnering with our organization. You can volunteer. You can do something like that. So that's something I'm working on with some other collaborators as well. And I'm going to be doing one, especially about US imperialism in Korea and how that, resulted in adoptions, international adoptions especially. So I'm trying to think, all right, if I have only a certain amount of time, what am I going to focus on? What songs would really fit this topic, fit this theme? So it's really just adapting it to fit the needs of, the upcoming events and gigs that I have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, how do I take 2.5 hours?
I was like, they're probably going to have like all of these different like wild things going on with like the way that they're going and more deconstruction and all this, and it's like, well, I just need to fit it into less time.
Yeah. He's like, what if I just take what I did and then make it all TikTokable?
Yeah.
How do I fit 2.5 hours into
TBH.
1 minute or less? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to try and do that. I posted some clips during, Adoptee Awareness Month in November. So I posted some clips from my show and I was like, how do I make this into 90 seconds? I was like, what do I take out? What silences do I take out? It's kind of hard, but it can be done.
It can be done. That's a lesson for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah, so the best places to engage with your work currently are streaming the music and catching a live gig if you're in the area. Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah. I will be presenting at Con this year, so if anyone will be there, Sonia Gibbs and I will be talking about raising your voice in various contexts and what does that look like. And we also might be doing a little show out there in Denver. We'll see. I'll also be, on a panel with AKA and their 30th anniversary in April. So I will be talking about the intersection of adoptedness, art, and queerness, which is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
But I'll also, Instagram is probably where I'm going to be updating everyone about stuff. And you can find me on Instagram at jae.ci. And also my website is up there too. And that's just jae-ci.com.
Beautiful. Yeah, we'll link all that in the show notes and we'll talk about it again after the food portion. But
cool.
Man, thank you for coming on and really enriching our show with your life. It's super gracious and you're enriching the lives of so many people just in the work that you do. And yeah, goodness, it's been a privilege and an honor to sit here to hold space for you and just be like, tell us how cool you are. and thanks for coming on and just give us so much to think about, whether it's seeing sounds and colors or gender and formant tuning and or just like my body wasn't made to speak English.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's like so cool. It was so cool getting to like meet you all in Chicago a few years ago. And it's like really an honor to be on this podcast. I'm a huge fan. So thank you so much for having me. And thank you all so much for like the work that you do for the adoptee community.
It's like 2% work, but
yeah,
we
I was going to say, you are doing way more. It's our honor and privilege to have you come to our platform. So
yeah, the big lift is coming up in 3 minutes when we have to talk about food. So let's cut to the food portion right now.
Welcome back to the Janchi Show. Time for some food. Why is Patrick laughing at me?
Because you loaded that one up. You go.
I did. Welcome. I kind of leaned into that.
He whipped his hair back and forth.
It's because it's the food portion. I love this. No,
that's why Nathan's here.
Yes, I'm just here for the snacks. No, we were gonna make a shirt that said that. thank you so much for that great interview. Now we are here with some food, and you brought some Kimbap, which I think is amazing. So, should we explain to the people, just in case there are some that don't know what it is?
Go for it, man.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to butcher it because of the fact that I'm not going to call it Korean sushi, even though I just kind of did right there. But kimbap is a roll of seaweed with rice and then a meat or tofu or sometimes they put ham or other vegetables and things on the inside, and then roll it up, and you can eat it cut up or you can eat it as a hand roll. And I don't know. I've had
You can just not cut it and just hold.
Yeah, you can just hold it.
Like
That's what I do with
elongated.
baseball games.
Wait, you do that legitimately?
That is
Legitimately
hilarious.
at a baseball game. We have
Amazing.
gone with a Korean family, and they brought them out like out of their bag, and they just started handing them to people, and we just started chowing on it like a burrito. It was awesome.
That's really funny.
So,
Oh.
but yes, it's. I mean, you don't have to cut it. So,
All right.
You don't
So,
have to.
listeners, Jay has one brand of kimbap. Nathan has another brand of kimbap. Both are pre-made rolls. Nathan has gimme seaweed slices, seaweed squares,
Yeah.
and I'm just here to talk. So yeah.
Patrick
Jay,
has the slices
what kind
of
of
seaweed.
what kind of What kind of kimbap did you get from where?
So I got the fried tofu and vegetable kimbap from Costco.
Heyo.
Yeah, gotta love Costco.
they got
Yeah,
it
and
all.
also Costco has those Lunar New Year's pillows, and yeah, that was really great. I don't know, do they have them out in the Costco's in the Midwest?
Yes. So I
Pillows?
have an Asian group chat that I'm a part of here in Indianapolis. And one of the things that is frequently posted is Asian finds at the Costco. So we
Like,
do have the
specifically
pillows.
at Costco.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm
That's
on a
really
Facebook
funny.
group just for Asian finds at Costco. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And it's minimal. I mean, there are some, but
That's the most
We out
Nathan
there.
sentence I've ever heard in
Yeah.
my life.
there is more. I mean, they got spam musubi now, so that's the whole other story. But
That's the
We're-
most Nathan sentence I've ever heard.
Yeah.
but hey, I was happy when they had the kimbap because the only other one that I knew of that was frozen and pre-made was the Trader Joe's one.
Yeah.
And I had that one and I didn't like it as much as the Costco one. So I'd be curious to look for the one that you have. The one I have it comes in a black bag called Hanwoo Moon fried tofu and vegetable. So that's the
Yeah.
brand of one that I have. And you just heat it in the microwave, which I'm going to throw this out there right now, is a little weird when you heat it in a microwave for like 2 to 3 minutes. I just find that weird when it comes out and it's all kind of hot because I'm used to eating like fresh, handmade stuff. So I don't know.
Nathan's over here being a kimbap snob.
I
But
know
dig
that's
in.
a little snobby.
Did you
Dig
say
in,
there was
tell me-
a? Did
tell
you
me
say
what
there
you
was
think.
one called Seal the Han Moon Kimbap? Is that what you said it was called?
Seal the Seal the moon. That's amazing. Actually, fun fact: there's an animation of Rumi eating a whole roll of kimbap in one go, and the creator
Not
of the
cut up?
show said that's not cut up, and she said that's a direct reference to Homer Simpson eating a burrito.
That is hilarious because I can
So-
already imagine or picture that.
I love that you can put
Wow.
different types of things inside it. I mean, this is fried tofu, but I've put in ham, hot dogs, bulgogi,
Hot dogs.
Yeah, I know it's the kids. We put different.
You don't have to lie. If that's your preference, this is a safe space. All right. I was just.
I was gonna say he uses his kids a lot for stuff when he like
That-
tests
I
the
don't
thing
think it's
out
his
and then he
kids.
goes, "It's for the kids."
Okay.
2
Jay, I
days
saw
ago-
nods of approval from you, though.
Yeah, I did realize though, like the sugar content in this though is crazy.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, 8 grams of added sugar. It does taste kind of sweet. Like there is like something does have added sugar in it.
The
Total
sauce,
sugar is
maybe?
11 grams.
What's in your roll? You said it's fried tofu and what else? Vegetable?
And vegetables. So
But
there's
can you-
definitely carrot. There's definitely pickled radish. There's definitely, I think it's spinach. But here, like like if you see all of like the little this is the ingredient list.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
Pretty.
definitely kind of yeah, maybe a little
So
more
not
processed.
super clean.
Not a little, it's a little sus.
Yeah, I mean nothing like looks super crazy. I think it's just like, sodium glutamate citric acid type of deal. Sugar, dark brown sugar, brewed vinegar, just like a lot of I think
That
it's like
all
all
seems-
the preservatives that go with each thing. And
Okay.
yeah, like emulsifier, all of that type of stuff.
Are my
is
hopes
in
and
here.
dreams in there too?
Are my hopes and dreams in there too?
Honestly, you know what? It might be just, on this side in the thing.
Oh, man.
It's in the fine print.
Yeah.
Have you made it fresh yourself?
I have not. I usually just make kimchi jjigae at home or
okay.
japchae.
Nice.
Yeah, or just like, I don't know, really whatever. But yeah, gosh, I don't have the patience to roll something. And especially too, like I can just like go to K-Town if I really want some fresh
sure.
kimbap. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy making it. It is fun. We made it actually for our Janchi Live back in, was it Dallas? That was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
2022.
I think three.
Cool.
Yeah, 3
22,
years
yeah.
ago.
So 3 years ago, we made it for our live recording. And that was the first time or second time I had made it because I had made it once before in preparation for the live recording. And
Cool.
I think by making it, it gave me an appreciation for the people who can do it right because it is hard. It's not, I don't know. You have to get the rice at the right like stickiness. You have to have, the little bamboo sheet to roll it, and then you have to roll it very specifically and tightly. Otherwise, it just falls right apart. And I really we have a Korean neighbor who makes it for us and just brings it by, and it's just so perfect looking every time. And mine just looks like, a wet rag that exploded of rice.
Yikes. Well, Nathan's over here describing the specificity with which you need to buy and prepare your ingredients for kimbap. Meanwhile, he comes to Dallas for my daughter's first birthday and just lets me buy stuff. And then as we're rolling it and it's not going great, he goes, yeah, I probably would have done this differently. Or like, oh, yeah, you probably should have gotten this other thing or what. I'm like, why didn't you speak of when we were at the store, dog? Ridiculous.
Yes.
He was like, no, I wanted to
to
criticize you later. That's deeply older brother syndrome of you.
I wasn't going to tell you what to buy, but I honestly didn't know it wouldn't work until we started the process, and I was like, "Yeah, this seaweed's a little is too much.
It's a little
it's too
crispy.
Korean."
Kids usually do it differently.
Yeah, amazing.
little
So
oily.
Patrick, you're just in honor of them eating kimbap. You're just eating seaweed squares, which you said you don't really love as a
Seaweed
snack.
rectangles.
What's going on there?
I think I just want other stuff in it.
Like,
I need some rice.
okay,
I need some daikon. I need some other thing. Or
you want it to be a full kimbap.
I could have it in a bowl of soup. So I just had ramen at a place the other day, and there were some seaweeds floating around, and I was like, "Oh, this is very tasty."
some seaweeds floating.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I think that's it. I mean, it's just like a sheet of paper. It feels like I'm just eating a sheet of paper. It's got salt, and it might have came
Yeah.
out of the ocean.
And
So
you're like, I could use some more chocolate in there.
this is a one item I probably would not add chocolate to.
Wow. All right. Well, we
interesting.
finally found the edge of
Something.
Patrick's chocolate desire.
No fondue seaweed then. Okay.
I don't know though. Have you ever had like a sea salt chocolate?
yeah, sea salt chocolate's good.
So if you just
yeah,
like
but it's
maybe
not
get a nice
seaweed chocolate.
Where do you think the sea salt comes from, my guy?
Not it's the salt off
Bro,
of this.
You said literally just it came out of the
That's it.
ocean. That's
Put some
where the
chocolate
sea
in
salt
it.
comes from.
And then let us know.
Yeah, now I want you to
Yeah.
go buy a nice chocolate bar,
Little chocolate bar.
sandwich it, see if you like it.
You know what?
wanna
I'll
know.
do it, and I'll give it to Van, and I'll have him test it. Let you know.
So I have to say, having little packets of seaweed around the house, I enjoy because my kids eat it like chips sometimes, and I am happy if they'll eat anything green, and so the fact that they will eat that like chips, I mean, go for it.
You're like,
So,
it's technically a vegetable.
it is.
Yep.
So have some around your house, and maybe in the future your kids are going to start snacking on it, and I mean, it's. I think that's much better than eating a Dorito. So, I mean, as far as for them, I would rather eat the Dorito.
Okay.
Give them the seaweed. You get to have all the Doritos to yourself.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Just cut
Yep.
the seaweed into triangles and they won't know the difference.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
fried seaweed is actually really good. There's sometimes seaweed on rice chips. So the one layer of the rice chip will be seaweed, the other layer will be rice, like a fried rice kind of a thing, puffed rice. And those are really, really good. We've had those chips before. I'm pretty sure we have, but
I don't know. Last episode, you said we'd had something, and we definitely had not had something. So you're
I did
already
look that
lying
up.
to me.
You were right. But the rice chip, I'm pretty sure we've had. And if not, I'll send it to you for the next one.
And if not, I'll admit it again.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
funny.
Jay, what would you rate your kimbap out of 5?
I would say this is pretty good. Like, I like the fried tofu one the best. I've had like the tuna
Really?
one. The tuna one kind of falls apart. But like, I mean, compared to like fresh kimbap, honestly, I'd give this probably like a solid 4. I will say the added sugar, I'm kind of like,
Yeah, that's
is
kind of
that
a bummer.
really? Yeah, is that really necessary? But
Yeah.
you know what? At the end of the day, it does pack how much protein? 13 grams of protein, so it's not nothing. You know,
Mhm.
there's something in there. Okay, a lot of carbs, 74
Yeah,
grams
it's like,
of
it's
carbs.
the
So-
ratio.
Yeah.
It's the ratio of carbs to protein, though. That's the kicker.
Yeah,
It's okay.
yeah. Oh,
Have it
gosh.
for breakfast and then
Run a
work off those
marathon.
carbs the rest of the day.
Yeah,
Run a marathon.
exactly.
Excellent.
No big deal.
Yeah. What about you all? What would you rate your snacks as?
I mean, I love this one. I've had it before. So, and again, not having to make it myself, I agree. 4 out of 5, probably from me as well. It's a quick, easy snack. I've had it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner before in the past. So,
You eat that for
it's hard
breakfast,
to
lunch, and dinner
find
every day?
Sometimes at the store. I want to say they don't stock a whole lot of it here, but whenever I see it, I do buy it.
Hmm.
And I think it's better than the Trader Joe's one, like I said. So,
Wow. Hot take.
Shots
but not as good as
fired.
homemade as well. If homemade is a 5, like you said, like at a restaurant or something, or my neighbor even, that's like this is
If homemade at a restaurant,
yeah.
that's funny. The classic definition of homemade.
Exactly. Hey, somebody made it.
Yeah.
Not me.
Exactly.
What you think? Who do you think made it for the Costco?
Somebody made this at their home
The
one
Kimbap
time.
trolls.
okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, amazing.
I'll give my seaweeds or rectangles a 3. It's just pieces of paper. So I don't know that I could go any
Green
lower,
paper.
but I can't go any higher. Now, were they in addition to another food item or were rolled up as Kimbap? That's a whole different story because it's a whole different product. But that's my piece.
Well,
End of
I'm
speech.
not eating anything, but I have had Trader Joe's kimbap, and I would give it, I guess I'd say a 3.5 out of 5. For the same reasons. Like it really like the convenience of it, the availability of it, the fact that I didn't have to make any of it. You know, like that's like that really like helps it, but it's not like amazing. So I'm happy with it, but I'm not like, you know, whatever. And like we talked about last episode, I think accessibility to Korean food is really important. Or it's really not important, but I guess it's a blessing for us for Korean food to be accessible, for it to be not like oogled at or not like shunned or anything. And so like for it to be in places like Trader Joe's, like Costco, I think is also really important, which is not really affecting its rating, still 3 out of 5, but want to honorable mention the importance of it being there. So
Sure.
yeah.
How do you all feel now that there's like this K wave of like food and culture and music that's coming just like through the world? Like, how do you all feel about that?
I think for me, what's interesting is because I didn't grow up with Korean food in the way that a lot of other Korean Americans talk about growing up with Korean food. I don't have the same like, oh, this is amazing because like I brought my kimbap to school and everybody, or I brought my kimchi to school or whatever, and like all the kids are like, oh, that's gross or oh, that's weird, whatever. So like I don't have that same like it doesn't have the same redemptive arc to me. But I think for me it's about I was gonna say it's about accessibility, but it also is weird. There've been a couple of moments now on social media where I've seen like a black guy like who is American speaking like beautiful fluent Korean. I've seen a white guy speak beautiful fluent mostly fluent Korean. And I'm like, on the one hand, I'm celebrating and I'm grateful for the accessibility and acceptedness of Korean culture, but I'm also like having my own reckoning of like, why couldn't that happen like when I was younger so they could be like around, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, hooray, I guess, probably is how I feel about it. And I try to just be quiet about my own stuff in public because like, you don't need to hear me complain about something that's like generally good, I think, for Asians, for Koreans, obviously. So yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah, I enjoy the visibility of it and the accessibility of food and items that I normally wouldn't be able to get. But as long as people aren't doing it in social media, I guess, too much performative wise and stuff where it's like, they're, I don't know, just doing it for the likes and stuff. I think for that part, I don't like, but for the people who are like, oh, this is great for the first time, I'm enjoying it. Then, for me, that's what's important.
Yeah, I think I have like a really complicated relationship with Korean culture just in general because of adoption. And like I was rejecting at that aspect of my life for so long that it's just been a really difficult thing to overcome. However, I do think, kind of like both KJ and Nathan said, that I see the general like positive outcomes because of the visibility, because people are, I guess, for lack of a better term, obsessing over it and making it, normalizing it in that way because of that obsession. And like it does impact me in certain ways, like where I see EJ and Rumi and Audrey perform Golden multiple times on multiple different shows, and every single time I start crying. And I'm like, it's just like moving me in such a profound way that like I appreciate it for that, and I appreciate the people, like the artist, the people who make stuff that just happens to be Korean and like coded in Korean culture. Like I really appreciate that. And I can stand with that and hold it up at the same time, knowing that like my own relationship, even when I am like profoundly moved, like emotionally moved by something from Korean culture, it still hasn't like shifted the needle in me to like make it more immersive in my own life. And like I'm trying to change that because I'm a parent now and because I don't want my kid to lack in the way that I lacked. And the advice I give to adoptive parents all the time is that if you're going to do that, like if you're going to do this, you have to constantly be actively engaging in the adoptee in your life's culture of origin. And like, even if they don't like it or show no interest or whatever, you have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it because it normalizes it. So when they decide, oh, I'm going to explore this, it's not from a place of like, oh, I have to overcome this deep, like rooted dislike of this because that's what was normal. It's like, oh, well, I know this is normal. My parents were doing it, so like it must be normal for me because I'm the Asian one. So like I'm the Korean one, so it must be like the thing that I can do. Like I'm trying so hard to internalize that advice for myself because like even though my kid is biological to me, I feel like because I don't have that even like inkling little bit of culture like running through the household, I feel like it's really imperative that I start to do that. So that's why I got these seaweed triangles. I'm just slowly, one bite at a time.
You'll be eating Kimbap at a baseball game. So.
Next, I'll be shoving whole sticks of Kimbap straight down my throat.
I mean, it normalizes it, man. It's not that weird.
Patrick's out
It's
here
not
with
weird
a
at
t-shirt,
all.
Don't cut your kimbap.
Hey, that should go on a shirt. That should go on a shirt.
Amazing. Well, yeah, Jay, thank you again so much for coming on, for hanging with us, for bringing Kimbap to the show. That was,
Thank you.
I think, maybe one of my favorite food discussions in a while. So
Yeah, that was a good one.
Cool.
yeah, that was great. Yeah, one more time, where can people find you? Stay up to date with what you're doing, keep up with your work, etc.
Yeah, my artist name is Jae.ci. So you can find me on like Bandcamp and other streaming platforms. You can also, that's also my Instagram handle too, Jae.ci. I'm on TikTok, but not as active. And my website is jae-ci.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you, for coming on, and it's been such a pleasure having you and listening to your story, and just all of it. So for us, you could find us at Janchi Show on all of our social media platforms. You can go to janchishow.com if you want to see past episodes, do a search, see if Nathan's lying about what we have or haven't eaten. You could send us an email to janchishow@gmail.com. And I think that's all the ways you can get in touch with us. Oh, we're on TikTok now. Not a big deal, but we are technically
It's kind
there.
of a big deal.
Yeah,
For temporarily.
yeah, it's fine. So just hang out with us. Hang out with us wherever you can get a hold of us. I am at KJ Relke wherever I want to be found on the internet.
I am Ed Nowak on Instagram.
And I am looking out for a mouse that I've seen in my house. And at Patrick in the World everywhere else.
Perfect. Well, yeah, thank you for coming on, Jay, and everyone else. Until next time, Janchi Heyo.
Kind of like to do that later.
Ooh.